Good morning. Welcome to the Tuesday live stream. Today is Tuesday, February 3rd. My name is Angela. I am a front-end developer and software engineer in St. Paul, Minnesota. How's it going? I had to cancel the Sunday stream because I had some personal business that I needed to take care of. We're all good. We're back. We're ready to go. And we're ready to continue working on our current project, which is called Scenic. And first of all, if you're new here, welcome. Do me a favor, hit the like button. Helps us get this out to more people who might be interested in this type of content. Subscribe if you're not already. I go live 4 days a week, Saturday, Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday. This is pretty much an all vanilla channel. I personally enjoy doing my personal projects. Obviously, this isn't going to work for like client work or at your job necessarily, but for my personal projects, I enjoy vanilla, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. I have never used React, but I have used Vue and Angular. I have quite a bit of experience with Vue. I've used Angular a handful of times. I actually really like Angular. If I needed a framework, I think that's what I would choose if I needed one. Anyways, neither here nor there. I just really enjoy vanilla, so that's what I do on this channel. And I want to encourage new developers and maybe even experienced developers who just want a deeper understanding of vanilla to just do 1 or 2 projects with vanilla and see how it goes. See if you develop that deeper understanding. So that's what we do here. This is a design that I made back in 2014 when I was a brand new developer. I've been a front-end developer since 2014. Actually, it's been about, I did my first paid client work the summer of 2013. So I think that counts. It's been about 12 and a half, 13 years right in there. I made this during my first year as a developer in 2014, back when I was living in San Diego. I also started my career as a WordPress developer. So the things that I did were really focused on what you need to make a WordPress theme. We are not turning this into a WordPress theme. We're just building this out as a static 4-page website. But that's just sort of where my head was back in 2014. Anyways, it's turning out really nicely. I mean, I'm really enjoying it. I would say I feel like we're right around maybe the halfway point of this, maybe 3/4 of the 2/3, something like that. I tend to judge things in fractions and percentages. How much longer is this going to take? Like 30% of the time, something like that. So today we're done with the home page. We're done with the layout for the subscription. We're done with the footer. We have implemented the HTML and CSS for a mobile responsive navigation, but we are going to write the JavaScript today. So we have this click event that when we click this button, it adds a class to the body, and then the CSS does all the work of transitioning that drawer open and closed. We've also built out our contact page. I'm looking at the contact page for the first time since this weekend, and I have to tell you, I like it. I wasn't sure about the borders around these inputs. I am sure. I like them. I very much like them. Yeah, this looks great. This looks great. Well done. Well done. Very happy with this. We also need to power this form. Now, I will tell you, I hate dealing with email and servers. And I had a close friend who is a full stack engineer try to convince me that dealing with an email server was actually fun and easy. And he tried so hard to get me to sit down and learn how to do it. And I just, no, I don't want to. That's not what I want to do. So we're going to use this third-party service called Formspree. We're just going to grab an endpoint and pop it in there. And once we push this up to our GitHub repository, we'll go ahead and test the form. This is my approach to forms. It works for me. If you want to do that deep dive into email servers, go for it. But I have no interest in that. So, yeah, so there's that. Yeah, yep. Let's see here. Let's say hello to some people. Rahul is here. Rahul from Nepal. Thank you. Rahul stays up late to hang out with us, you guys. There's a 12-hour time difference. I'm in St. Paul, Minnesota, and right now it's about 10:45 a.m. Rahul is 12 hours later at 10:45 p.m. And I appreciate him so much for staying up and hanging out with us. And Niamadin says you can use Formspree. Yep, that's exactly what we're going to do. I love using Formspree. So, and Rahul says looking at the same UI after some days off gives off a different vibe. Yes. So, well, okay. So I have questions, which is a good vibe or a bad vibe? Angela words. Bad vibe. I think you are saying that because it's a positive thing. I can tell you for me, it's positive. And this is why I'm actually really lucky. I mean, I've always known this, how important it is to be able to step away from something and come back and look at it with fresh eyes. That is a power move as a front end developer. And where that usually falls apart for me is that I am a procrastinator. I wait until the last minute. Now, I'm not talking about in streaming because the streaming forces me to plan projects and show up and work incrementally. But even at work or with my client work, I can just admit that I am a procrastinator and sometimes I wait till the last minute. And when I do that, I don't give myself that very powerful tool, which is being able to walk away and come back and look at something with fresh eyes. And I totally agree with you, Rahul. This is so, I literally just had this experience looking at the contact form because I was not sure about some of these decisions that I made on Saturday. And now here we are on Tuesday. So it's been Sunday, Monday. Yeah, it's been like 3 days. It did give off a completely different vibe that I like, that is positive, where I'm coming back and looking at this and I'm like, yes, this was a good decision. I like this, looks good. I'm glad that I did this. So if you are in the mood, Rahul, tell me, expand on what you're thinking. Tell me what you're thinking. And there's no wrong answer here. If you're getting a vibe of something that doesn't work, tell me what it is. I may not do anything about it, but I would like to hear it. That's another thing is I'm building in public and I want to be the person who is open to feedback, open to suggestion, even if it's maybe not super positive. I want to be the person who can accept constructive criticism, but I still may choose to do what I want to do. So just know that your feedback is always welcome, but I'm still going to do my own thing. Does that make sense? I think that's okay. I think it's okay to say that out loud. And okay, good. Yes, good vibe. That's what I was pretty sure that you were going to say that. I was pretty sure you were going to say that. So yeah, incredibly powerful to be able to walk away and come back and look at something. Very powerful. Don't underestimate that. Fresh eyes are a really important tool. Really important tool. So what do we, okay, so we need to hook this up to Formspree today. You know what I would really like to do first, though, before we come back to the contact page? We need to wrap up this header, which I basically forgot about on Saturday. So, and Jack is here, or excuse me, Jan Mick Creatives. I hope I am saying this right. I'm using my phonics skills. It makes perfect sense. Good evening. Hello, welcome. Yeah, thank you for that. I appreciate when we can all come together and agree on things. Let's make sure that we get our JavaScript in here so we can just sort of finish off what's happening in the header. Like I said, all of the CSS is in place. So we just need to add that click event so we can say menu underscore active to add that class on the header. And then, yeah, I completely forgot that we changed our navigation to drop down from the top. That's so funny. I literally was like, oh, that's what it does? Yes, Angela, that's what it does. I like it. I like this too. Okay. I do not have it memorized, even though I've done it 5 bajillion times. So forgive me, or don't, whatever works for you. I'm going to look at my GitHub, and we're going to go ahead and type out our JavaScript. We don't have anything in here yet. That is perfectly fine. So we're going to say document, add event listener, and it's DOM content loaded. Whoops. And we don't really have anything to put in here yet. That's going to be where we initialize everything. And you may have a way that you like to do these types of things. I've been very open about my JavaScript skills on this channel, and a lot of it has to do with just my confidence level and being willing to struggle through JavaScript in public. You may have a more efficient, cleaner way of doing this. God bless you. This is how I do it. And, I'm still learning. I'm not ashamed to say, hey, this is, in spite of all of these other things that I do really, really well, this is like the part of front end that I still kind of like stumble through sometimes. So, and part of being willing to do this in public is hopefully I want to give you permission to not worry so much about things that are hard. So I don't know if that makes sense. Anyways, and actually going to define a few things here first. So we'll define the body first. So this is document, query selector, and we're just going to define the body element. And then we need to define those buttons. So this is going to be document query selector all. So we're going to get all of the elements, and I think we gave that a class of well, let's double check here. Menu button right here. So we basically need an array. Menu button. And then we also need to define just the open button. So query selector, and what's that class right here? Open button. Just like that. So now we have our menu toggle, and we're just going to do if open. So we're just going to check and make sure that that button is even there. Yeah. And then we'll say buttons for each button. And then we're going to button, add event listener, click. And then we're going to define is active, and this is going to do two things for us. So is active is going to be body class list toggle that menu active class. And then we're also going to check is active. We're going to use it as a Boolean value, true, false. So if is active, if the body has the class menu active, it's true. If it doesn't have the class, if it's toggled off, it's false. So if it's active, we want to take that open button and set the attribute aria-expanded. Aria-expanded, and it is a string. So if it is active, that open button should change from aria-expanded false, which is the default, to true. Else, open set attribute aria-expanded false. And again, it's a string. So what do we think? I think this is going to work. It usually does. It's the same. It's literally the same JavaScript. We don't have any errors in the console. Oh, you know why it's not going to work? Because we didn't initialize it. So menu toggle right down here. Nope, what's going on here? Button, add event listener, click. Oh, let's see here, menu toggle. We have our script in here, don't we? No, we don't have our script in here. Okay. That helps. So script, source, script.js, and we want to make sure we have that defer attribute. There we go. Menu active. And then let's also check, and let's just see, this is the aria-expanded attribute. So on page load, so let me move this down here. So on page load, this is aria-expanded false. So we click that button, menu active, aria-expanded true. We click the close button. We remove that class, we go back to aria-expanded false. It's so simple. It's taken me, I mean, honestly, after years of building responsive navigation until last summer was the first time that I really sat down and forced myself to come up with a system that wasn't just responsive, because that is actually not the hard part. That's the easy part. The hard part is making sure that it's accessible and that a screen reader or somebody who uses a keyboard to navigate can open and close that menu appropriately and understand what's happening on the page. So let's refresh. So with a clean refresh, I'm going to tab through. So tab, the first thing that gets focus is the logo because it's a link, and buttons and links automatically by default in the browser get tab focus. Then we tab over to the button. And then if I tab again, we skip to the next thing, which happens to be an input. Inputs also get focused by default. And then we keep going. So what didn't happen? The thing that didn't happen is that we didn't tab into the navigation because links also get tab focus by default. Here's the thing, the user has to decide that they want to see the navigation. If the screen reader or the tab keyboard action lands on this button, the user needs to know that this is being called out as an open menu, and they decide if they want to see the menu. So if they are like, no, I don't need to see the menu, I'm just going to keep going through the page, they make that choice. If they want to see the menu, then they hit return on whatever has focus. Now they're inside. Now they're inside the menu. So I'm going to hit return again, and we're going to close. Now here's the other thing. Once they're in the menu, the only way that they have to close the menu is to click the close button. We need to give them another way to close the menu. And here's the thing, it's okay for them to tab out of the menu and onto the page because the menu doesn't cover the entire page. That is okay. But they do need another way to close that menu besides going back and explicitly finding the close button. So the way that we're going to do that is we're going to write a second function where they can hit the escape key and close the menu. So let's do that now. So we're going to call this escape toggle. So again, we're going to check for that open button, if open. And we're going to say document, add event listener, and we're looking for the key down. And we need that event. And body class list remove. Oh, sorry, hang on, I forgot one other step here. We have one other if statement. So we're going to say if the event key equals the escape key and the body contains the menu active class. So if those things are true, then we're going to body class list, no, stop. Remove menu active. And we're going to change the attribute on the open button. Open, set attribute, aria-expanded. We'll set that back to false. So now if the menu is open and somebody tabs out of the page, all they have to do is hit the escape key to close it. So let's go ahead and initialize that. So now here's my mouse over here. I'm just going to tab through. So now the menu's open, but the focus has left that drawer. If I hit escape, it closes the menu, it removes the body class, and it changes the aria-expanded back to false. This is not a requirement for accessibility, but it is a best practice. And I want to encourage you to do something like this instead of trapping the focus inside the menu. I used to do that. Like not that long ago, I used to write a lot of JavaScript to trap the focus inside the menu, which forces the user to find this button and close the menu. And there's no reason to do that because the menu, I think that it has to do with the fact that the menu doesn't cover the entire page. Part of the page is still visible, and it's okay for the focus to leave the menu. It just is. But you have to just give people a way to close that menu without forcing them to go back into the menu and find the close button. So I think this is the best way to do it. I think that my markup is simple and solid, and I think that you could style this to look any way you want. I don't think it even has to look a certain way. You can style it to look like anything, but functionally it's still solid, it's still strong. So one moment. Okay, so I want to say hello to a couple of folks in the chat. Let's see here. Knight is here. Hello. Go Elmo is here. I am currently downstairs replacing floor tiles. I'm just going to be honest and tell you, I think that sounds like it sucks. So I don't know if that you're enjoying that process. I used to own a home. No, thank you. I don't like that. I don't like doing stuff like that. And Rahul says, you have good JavaScript skills. Well, thank you. I feel like I always have to qualify my JavaScript. I should stop doing that. I shouldn't do that. So I you know what? I don't mind comments like this. Let's respond to this. AI will replace our job, specifically in web development. What do you think about it? I think the mod deleted that, or it was the Lightyear retracted it. The mods, let me just say thank you again to the mods, because they like have my back, and they keep the chat friendly and professional and like focused on having fun. But also, it's okay if you want to say things like that to me. I personally don't mind, and I'm not going to delete a comment that is unless it's like kind of rude or personally attacks me, but comments like that, I'm fine responding to that. I don't think AI is going to replace our jobs, especially in web dev. I mean, I don't know, maybe they will someday. Here's what I think about that. AI can write code. It doesn't replace a developer who understands process. It doesn't replace a developer who understands the mission of the organization and who the user is, the goals, what the organization is trying to achieve. AI doesn't replace that. And if you think AI does replace that, then you don't know what real developers do. You just don't know what real developers will do. And respectfully, you are the one that will be replaced first by AI. Because real developers know how to solve problems, they know how to guide their leadership teams, they know how to implement solutions that move an organization forward and help organizations meet their goals and serve their customers and their stakeholders. That's what real developers do. Oh, Rahul just says they deleted their original message. You deleted the double one. Totally fair. And, Lightyear, listen, first of all, thank you for engaging in the chat, because my chat is for subscribers only. So that means you subscribe. Thank you. And you can ask me you can make statements like that or ask me those questions. Doesn't bother me at all. I've made my position very clear on what I think AI will and won't do. And at this point in time, AI isn't replacing anybody. It will replace people who just sit in a corner and write code. So if you're one of those developers, yeah, you might get replaced. But if you're somebody who's like engaged in the organization and does real problem solving, you're not going to be replaced, my friend. You just won't. AI is a tool to make you work smarter and faster and more efficiently. And there's nothing wrong with new tools. I think there's a lot of panic right now, and believe me, I understand that. I really, really understand that. I worry a little bit about it too, but I just don't see it happening right now. So Terry Murray is here. Good morning. Good morning, Terry, our friend in Toronto. How's the weather? Tell me about the weather, because we had another snowstorm on Sunday, which was very inconvenient. So I generally stream every Saturday and Sunday, and I had a sick dog. I'm going to spare you the gory details because, believe me, they were gory. But if you have pets, you know that sometimes there's a lot of dog shit that needs to be cleaned up. So Heidi was not well this weekend. We've since been to the vet. She's been medicated. Everything's been cleaned up. And then on top of all of that, we had a snowstorm on Sunday. It was just a very, very stressful weekend. I hope I didn't gross you out too much there, but if you have a pet, you know that sometimes things happen and you have to deal with it. And that's what was happening here on Sunday. So, but at least it's warming up a little bit in Minneapolis and St. Paul. I think it's like in the 20s or something like that. And we have sunshine and it hasn't snowed for a couple of days. So that's nice. And Rahul says, I'm panicking, not gonna lie. Oh, wow. That makes me sad. I don't think well, I can't, you feel the feelings. First of all, feel the feelings. I don't think it's a good idea to ever tell somebody to not feel something. Yeah, listen, there's no doubt it's going to change the way we work as developers. And it doesn't help right now that, tech companies are doing these huge, massive waves of layoffs because they overhired, they overstaffed after COVID, right? In 2021 and 2022. And now they're course correcting. And for years, it was such a safe bet to go and learn how to code or to get a computer science degree, right? And it's different now. It's different. So if you're looking for a job, which I know many of you are, you're competing with really an influx of really experienced developers. And it's not what it used to be. When I was starting out back in 2014, you could throw a rock and get a job. I'm telling you, it was so easy, even as a new developer, to get a job. Once I'd made this career change, and I'm completely self-taught, and I started looking for jobs as a developer, it wasn't hard. And it's a lot different now. So I empathize. But I want you to stay positive if you can. I really, really believe that developers who, I don't know how else to put it, except I think there's two types of developers. This is my own observation. There's the developer who sits in the corner and completes their tasks. And then there's the developer who takes a more active role in problem solving. And I think the people who are taking a more active role in their jobs and they're stepping up and they're willing to do new things and they're asking for different types of tasks and assignments, I think that those are the people who are going to survive. That's my own observation. I don't know. So hang in there. Hang in there. Because I really think the world still needs us. And Terry says, it's a bit warmer now. We'll be above 0 Celsius next week. Yeah, I think it's starting to finally warm up here as well. When it rains, it pours. I think this is a comment about little Heidi. So that's my dog. Yeah, well, we're all cleaned up here. It stresses me out. The dog thing stresses me out. So yeah, layoffs are impacting the job market. Keep going, keep forging forward. So keep moving forward. That's my best advice. Okay. What do we think? Our navigation is done. That was it. That was like the last thing that we needed to do. So let's go ahead and deploy this, and then let's go back to our contact form and get that hooked up. And then we'll go ahead and test the form. Again, that's not really going to work in a local environment, so we need to push that up to our GitHub pages in order for that to go through, but I can show you in Formspree how that data gets collected. And Rahul says, I want to work for an international company, and competing with the pros is kind of scary. Yeah, it is for me too. I hear that. Listen, I'm the most confident I've ever been in my entire career, and that is largely due to streaming and being willing to put myself out there in public. Um, but I also get intimidated. But let me hang on. Let me do this because I have some other thoughts that have to do with more of like the psychology of climbing the ladder. Let's see here. Implementing mobile nav JS. Git push origin main. And I have the repository linked down. I have the repository linked down in the description, but let me throw this in the chat. The GitHub page. This needs a few minutes to percolate, but there it is once it goes live. And then let me open up Formspree. I'll log in here. Two-factor authentication. So, the whole point is friction, right? That's how you know it's working. Ooh, Formspree is slow today. Come on, buddy. You can do it. I believe in you. Oh, what was I saying? There's something to be said about people who succeed in Rahul, I realize you're in a different country, but so I use the word corporate America just as a way to just a way to refer to like business. So in corporate America, something that I've noticed is that the people who succeed are not necessarily the people who are the best at their jobs. They're the people who are good at playing the game. And that's tough for me because I don't personally enjoy a lot of bullshit. I'm not good at small talk. I hate team building events. I have a lot of friends that I've met over the years at work, but I don't particularly enjoy work functions. I don't like work retreats or team building exercises. I hate that stuff. I want to go to work and do my job and go home at night. That's what I want to do. And the people who tend to succeed the most in corporate America or in business are the people who are willing to play those games. They're willing to engage with leadership, and they're willing to just do what it takes to sort of get along. And often those are not the people who are necessarily the best at their jobs. So, and I think it's the same in development too. I think that there are a lot of people who get ahead in development, not because they're spectacular developers, but because they just know how to play the game. And when you think about things like, just think about the whole culture of agile. Like I understand the history of agile and why it was developed, but think about all the bullshit around stand-ups and scrums and story points and just all the BS, the agile dogma, right? People I feel like people that really succeed are the ones who like understand that game and they embrace it. And that's tough for people like me because I think I am a good, competent developer, but I just have a very low threshold for bullshit. And it's hard for me. And it's one of the reasons why I haven't been more aggressive in my career. I just haven't been more aggressive in my career because being aggressive in my career isn't about being masterful at JavaScript, just as an example. It's about playing the game, and I don't enjoy the game. Yeah, and Rahul says exactly, you should know how to play the game. One of the juniors started 3 to 4 years ago. I saw on LinkedIn, got a 100K remote job. It broke me for 2 days. Oh yeah, that would break me too. Um, this is the world and so this doesn't have anything to do with the current climate for developers or the influx of experienced developers. It just made it harder to play the game. That's what happened. This is one of the reasons why. So I'll be a little bit transparent about how just some of the decisions that I've made for myself, which is that I had a great job. I was the manager of front end development at the University of St. Thomas in St. Paul here in Minnesota. And I was there for 7 years and I really liked my boss. The work that I was doing was challenging, but not particularly difficult. It kept me busy, but it wasn't very interesting. And I just I just knew that I wasn't going to grow or move any further up in my career if I wasn't willing to be like more, I don't know, something I didn't want to be. I just didn't want to. So I sort of had to take a step back and look at my life. And I live a very simple life. I do not live beyond my means. I am willing to live with less, so I need less to support my lifestyle, if that makes sense. I don't have a brand new car. My car's 12 years old. I don't spend a lot of money on stuff that I don't need because I've just learned to separate myself from things as I get older. I have learned that having a little bit less is actually better for my mental health, and then I don't have to work so hard to maintain a lifestyle. So knowing that that's the type of life that I had, I was like, you know what? I'm not happy at this job, even though it's a good employer. I like my boss and I like the people that I work with. I'm not happy doing this work anymore. So can I quit this job and do YouTube or go back to freelancing and do something different, knowing that I will be earning less or that it will take me a long time to even start earning money because I had savings? And I was like, yeah, actually, I am willing to do that because it just makes me happier. And I am willing to live with less in order to protect my mental health and to just be a happier person. And that was a good decision for me. It really, really was. I'm willing to do different things and live with less in order to be happy because I cannot stand the thought of like climbing the corporate ladder, playing the game. I can't do it. I can't do it. I would rather stream 4 days a week and not really make a lot of money because I enjoy this a lot better. One moment. Now, everybody's life is different. Everybody's situation is different. Not everybody can make that type of decision. I was lucky I was able to make that decision and it was completely worth it to me. So, but if you're a new developer or you have other responsibilities And you know what? There's nothing wrong with wanting to make money too. There is absolutely nothing wrong with that because developers are some of the most highly paid people in the world. And it is okay to do the work to earn that. So I don't fault anybody for wanting that either. And honestly, I probably should be a little more aggressive because I don't want to work until the day I die either. I do want to be able to retire. So yeah, I mean, we all have to make decisions for what we can do or what we're willing to do or not do, right? Okay, I think that people probably aren't here for this type of thing. So, but I personally love this type of conversation. So, and you know what, Rahul, hang in there. Just hang in there. I personally think that you have a bright future. So, okay, so here's our new form, Scenic. And I only have one project. It's just called Portfolio. Any emails that get sent to this form are also going to be saved in Formspree, but they're going to be emailed to me. So we'll go ahead and create this form. Now here's the cool thing about Formspree, which is that I don't have to match fields. So let's take a look here at our fields for the contact form. So our fields are that we have a name input, an email input, and a text area. Those are the three fields. Oh, you know what we didn't do is we didn't add our hidden fields. We do need to add some hidden fields and actually a little bit of JavaScript. So let's go ahead and get this part of the form working, and then we have some additional things that we can add here. But basically, if you're working in a traditional it's not a content management system. It's a database. The word escapes me. If you're working in something like Salesforce, you would have to create the fields in Salesforce and give them a name. And then you would have to make sure that your form inputs are matching on the other end. This is great because you can just go ahead and name your inputs, and whatever gets sent through as the action to the endpoint, Formspree will just capture that data and categorize it for you, which is really nice. And so it's giving us some code examples here. We don't need any of the code examples. We just need right here, the form endpoint. This is all we need. So I'll copy this. I'm also going to say target equals blank. When this submits, I want it to open in a new window. The reason is because I'm using a free version of Formspree. In order to get a custom redirect page, I need to upgrade to the paid version, and I haven't done that yet. So what I do is when the form sends, we open a new page, and it will confirm the submission, or it will tell us that there's an error. It's probably going to say that it's confirmed. The other thing that's going to happen is on the same page, the form is going to continue to be filled in. And that's where we're going to do a little bit of JavaScript to make sure that the send button or the submit button is disabled and the form cannot be resubmitted. But first, let's go ahead and push this up to GitHub, and then we can test this and see how it works, and then we'll add our additional JavaScript and hidden fields here. So, and I want to say hello to Rayhan. Welcome. Hello, Rayhan. Glad you could join us. Oh, and Malik is officially here now. Are you taking a break from your tile work? Which sounds awful, I think. Julian is here. Welcome, Julian. Hello. Thank you for joining us. Okay, let's get this pushed up. And I know from experience that this data will not go through on a local environment. Let's see here. Adding a form endpoint. And then I will show you the steps that I take to test forms. And Malik says he is finishing the rest of the tile work tomorrow. I used to own a townhouse years ago before I moved to San Diego, and I did the whole flooring, new countertops. I painted every wall in that house at least 3 times. I was into that for a while. Not anymore, man. I do not enjoy that. So more power to you. Let's see here. Okay, so there's our action. And we can also see that our navigation is working. So here's how I like to test forms, and you should always be testing in a development or staging environment. And honestly, don't fair. Fair. That's funny. That's funny. Back to the forms. You should always be testing your forms in a staging or development environment, and make sure that you don't forget to test your forms after you've moved to production. So this is technically a staging environment. We will have a deployment stream where I show you how to create a virtual host on a server and deploy this to a real domain. That would be the production. So we're going to test again and make sure everything works in both environments. And that's just a good front end best practice, right? That you have a staging, or not even front end, just a development best practice, that you're pushing to development first and you're testing and then you're pushing to production. So anytime you're testing your forms, especially in production, make sure, I can't type here at all. Why can't I type? That's interesting. Oh, you know what? How much you want to bet that yeah, okay, we have to change the color of the text. Another good reason to test, people. Another good reason to test. We clearly didn't check to see if our input. Yeah, look at that. Okay, let's bust out our CSS here. What did we do? So here's our contact form. Here's subscribe. Where's our form stuff? Right here. Color white. Yeah, we definitely need to change this. I bet I did this because of the subscribe text. So we'll change that to black, and then let's double check subscribe and make sure that that specifically is white. So placeholder, light gray, but the inputs also need to have a color of white. And so let's make sure that this is okay. Okay. Good. That is just for testing. Don't actually do that. Bloop, bloop. Yep. Okay, good. Bloop, bloop, bloop. Okay. Oh, and then look at down here. This changed our button. So let's fix that too. This is why we test. So here's our button. That's inside the media query. So our button needs an updated color for the default, because the focus, hover, active are dark blue. So we'll just say color. There we go. And does that, yep, we're good here too. Okay. So let's deploy this. We need to deploy this again. Testing, man, so important. I've talked about it before. Forms are, especially as front-end developers, you're going to spend an enormous amount of time dealing with forms because websites are marketing tools. They are about lead generation, or if it's an e-commerce website, you got to make sure that that stuff's getting through to the intended spot, right? I personally have not worked places where I had to do a lot of e-commerce. I have, but every place I've worked has been about marketing and lead generation and capturing data, form data. It's incredibly important. So just know that as a front-end developer, you're going to spend a lot of your time working with forms. So come up with a good system for testing your forms and making sure that data is getting from point A to point B. And above all else, make sure that no matter where you work, you understand who has the information on the end where that data is going. So I'm going to use Salesforce again as an example because in Salesforce, you create the fields and then there's somebody on that team naming the fields. Who is that person? They need to tell you what the names of those fields are. And that sounds so simple, but if you don't have good relationships with that team or those people, and you're testing your forms and data isn't going through, you need them to tell you what those field names are. And it's hard to explain how difficult that is when you don't get along with the team or you don't know who on the team is the owner of that process. So it's so much more than just writing HTML and styling a form. It's so much more than that. I can't stress this enough. And nearly every single job that I've had as a front-end developer and as a freelancer and a contractor, the forms are just so important. They are so important. So, that's how it's been in my career. I would love to know what it's been like for you guys. So, okay, so fixing styles for form inputs and buttons. I feel like I'm talking too much today. Okay, so we push that up. Let's give that a second to percolate. And then we will test. And then let me find, I have in my GitHub on another project. I'll do this here so you can see. So this is another thing that I recently did. Probably it was September or October. I'm working on this project, which I need to finish. I haven't worked on it in a couple of months, called the Lemon Stack. And this has two contact forms. So it has a contact form that I'm using on the home page and on the inner page. And actually, let's just look at the home page. And this was another situation where I did use ChatGPT to sort of sit down and nail down a process or a system for dealing with forms the way that I like to deal with forms. And this is what I came up with. So I do have this deployed to the lemonstack.com. This is the form right here. So we've got first name, last name, email, phone number, which is an optional field, and then message, and then a submit button. And here's what that looks like. So first of all, we need hidden inputs that grab the page path and the page URL. And the reason for that is because you may have the same form on multiple pages and you want to know which page that came from. Here's a great example. Let's say you have a website, or there's a directory on a website that is landing pages for marketing campaigns. This is really common in universities and in higher education, where there's a marketing team and they're doing paid ads and they need a landing page for each school or college or each type of campaign. But it's essentially the same form. Well, how do you know which form submission came from which page? The best way to do that is to just get the URL of the page that it came from. That is a great way to do it. There are other ways. There are other hidden fields, but this is a very basic, simple way to do that. Just grab the URL of the page that it came from. So that's the first thing. And we'll do a little JavaScript here for that. Next, we do kind of need like a honeypot, but we need to make it accessible for screen readers, right? So this is going to be, it is going to be inside of a div where we say aria hidden true. And then we're also going to have a class called access hidden, or I think the class on our site is called SR only, screen reader only. And we want this here so if somebody who is using a screen reader comes upon this, we want to like literally tell them, hey, leave this field empty, don't fill it in. And then we give it a name of underscore honeypot, and then that tells Formspree on their end, oh, if this is filled in, then we know it's spam, because the only two situations where this particular input would be visible is if it was a spam bot or somebody using a screen reader. So that's why we do that. And that's it. This is what I do. I keep it simple. So I grab the page path and the page URL so I know specifically where this inquiry on my site came from, especially if I'm using this form in more than one page. And I'm just doing some little honeypot here to deal with some spam. So I'm going to take these and we'll go ahead and put them in our form right here. And then I'm going to change this from access hidden to SR only. Okay, and then we just need a little bit of JavaScript to capture the page path and the page URL. So let's go back here to our Lemon Stack project. Another really good reason to make sure that you're using version control as much as possible, because it's like a little note-taking system. And this is the JavaScript that I came up with. So let's go ahead and we're just going to copy this over and we'll make a new function. So I'm just going to say function form. Okay, so we're getting the form, which has a class of form right here. And we're just checking to make sure the form is on the page so we don't get an error on pages where there is no form. And then we're looking for the input with a name of page URL. As long as that input exists, we're going to get the window location href. And then we're going to do the same thing here. We're looking for an input with the name of a page path. And as long as that input exists, we're going to get the window location path name. So super easy. Basically, window.location. It's part of the default browser JavaScript API. So those two things are easy to grab. This is the part that ChatGPT gave me, and it may seem a little bit redundant, but I have had people in the chat tell me that, so let's go back to the Lemon Stack here. So if we just hit submit, you know, just the HTML alone does some form validation, right? And I've had people in the chat though tell me, actually, this is like easy to bypass. And I believe you when you tell me that. I don't know how to bypass that. I don't have a clue. That is not my area of expertise. But if you tell me that's easy to bypass, I believe you that it probably is. So ChatGPT gave me this where we just do a little extra form check validity. And again, this is part of the JavaScript API that we're checking the validity and reporting the validity. And these are basically Boolean values that we can use to stop the form from being submitted, right? Tell me if I'm explaining that wrong. This is how I understand it. The final thing that I'm going to do is we're going to make sure, because I am using the free version of Formspree and I'm opening the success or error submission window in a new tab, that means that the form is still filled in if the person goes back to that tab. And we want them to go back to that tab and continue to browse on the site. But I don't want them to be able to hit the button and resubmit the data. So I'm going to disable the button. To me, this is a nice little workaround for those of us who are too cheap to pay for a tool that we don't use very often. I think Formspree allows up to 50 submissions per month, and I think I have less than 10 per month generally. And they're all me from my own form testing. Possibly Malik, because he likes to also help me with form testing. So my simple solution is to just disable the button and prevent the form from being resubmitted. So that's what we're doing here. So let's go ahead and initialize this. Hopefully that all makes sense. It works for me. And then let's go ahead and push this again. Adding JS for forms. And while this is percolating, I want to revisit another thought that I just had. And it's this: seeing the junior dev land the job and how it broke you for 2 days. I've had this experience before, and I've had it with people who I was like, they're a moron. How did this happen? Because I know I'm smarter than they are. Or I've also seen it happen for people that I knew were very smart, and they totally deserved it. I mean, I've had it both ways. It's tough. Here's my best advice. Comparison is the thief of joy. I know that's really hard these days, but it really is. When we compare ourselves to other people, it just sucks the life and the joy out of me. And I don't like that, because I've worked really hard to get good at this. And I think it's pretty clear that I genuinely enjoy it, or I wouldn't be here. Like, I'm into it. I love front-end development. I especially love vanilla, and I think that I absolutely kill it writing vanilla CSS. I'm not perfect, but I think I'm pretty darn good at it. So when I see things like that, that's kind of sucked the life out of me for a couple of days, it kills my spirit, and it kills all the joy that I have around what it is that I do. And I don't like that. I don't like that feeling. I also don't like resenting other people who I know also worked hard and also deserve it. We all deserve it. We all deserve to be rewarded for our hard work. So I guess my best advice is to just hang in there and to keep moving forward. I think everybody deserves success, and everybody deserves to be rewarded for their hard work. I think that I do. I think that you do. I think we all do. I don't know what's going to happen, but I think we just need to forge ahead. So I don't know. I hope that that's not too much. So, okay, let's give this a moment. And right here, our code has deployed. So we are now in our official development of our environment on GitHub. So let's go ahead and test the form. Okay, so back to what I was saying before. Let's see here. Oh, give me 1 moment. Hold, please. Okay. Back to what I was saying before, especially when you're in your production environment, make sure that your actual production data stays clean. So what's the best way to do that? We just need to make it really obvious that your test submissions are not actual leads that are being captured. The simplest way to do that is to just put the word test next to your name. Heidi Holden. That's my dog's name, Heidi. Heidi Test Holden Test. Wait a second. Why does that say name? That should say email. Okay, so we have another thing that we have to fix. Let's just make sure. Placeholder name. Okay, I'm going to fix that here. And we will deploy that. But this input is still type email. Oh, but these don't have names. I didn't put names in. I put the name message in for the text area. But if I was to submit this now, it doesn't have a name. And that we need that for the API on the Formspree end. So we have to fix this. Oh boy, you see why testing is so important? Okay, this is the label, Angela. So ID type text. So let's just put it right here. Name equals name. And then right here, we need name equals email. Yeah, without those, this data doesn't go anywhere or really get captured anywhere. So we've got a name here. We've got a name here. We have a name here. And then this input has a name. This input has a name. And this input has a name. Okay. We'll deploy one more time. Adding names to the inputs. Okay. Hang with me, people. Hang with me. All right. We'll give this a minute to percolate. And this is a good time to remind people, if you haven't liked the stream yet, go ahead and do so. Helps the algorithm, helps me push this out to more people who might be interested in this type of content. Subscribe if you haven't yet. Yeah, I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Okay, and I think we have okay, so we have name is name and name is email, text area, name is message. So now this information has a place to land in Formspree. Okay, third time is the charm. So we've got Heidi test, Holden test, and my email is info@AngelaJHolden.com. You could also do something like info plus test. I think that categorizes it like on your end as the user. And then the message that I always put in is form test on 2/3/2026. So I always put in the date at, and it's 11:56 a.m. my time. And the reason I do this is if you're having trouble with your forms and data isn't going through, but suddenly something does go through, you want to know which one went through. And the best way to do that is to put in the time. I always also say, please click reply and confirm you received this message. And of course I spelled received wrong. Received, I before E. There, I spelled that right? No. Received, there we go. Thanks. And here's another reason why you want to do this. Ideally, upon submission, this is going to get captured in Formspree. It's also going to get emailed to the person who owns the form. The person who owns the form needs to be able to click reply and immediately reply to whoever this is, whatever this is right here. So that's essentially closing the loop on the process, right? Now, if you work someplace where the data just gets captured and doesn't get emailed to anybody, okay, fine. If you're working with a small business or a sole proprietor, they are most likely going to expect that if somebody fills out the contact form on their website, it gets emailed to them directly, and they need to be able to just hit reply and then email that person back. That's the whole point. So I'm going to hit submit, but what I'm expecting is going to happen is that, first of all, the form is not going to be cleared, but the submit button is going to be disabled, so it can't be resubmitted. And then a new tab is going to open confirming the success of the form. So let's do it. Okay, the form was submitted successfully. And now this button is disabled because the form doesn't clear. We could probably write JavaScript that clears the form upon submission. I just didn't bother to do that. But once the page is reloaded, it clears the form and the submit button is available again. And we got a success message. So you definitely want to make sure that you're giving your user some sort of either success or error message. And then let's go to Formspree. And so I don't know why we're getting an exclamation point. Maybe that's normal, but here's everything, right? So the Honeypot wasn't filled out, so that's how we know it was a real submission. Here's the email that I filled in. Here's my message. Here's my name. And then we have our page path and our page URL. That's perfect. Here's our data. This is exactly what we want. Now let me check. I'm going to check my email and make sure that I got emailed the submission, which I did. Wait, did I? Did this go to spam? Maybe it went to spam. I haven't gotten the email yet. So we'll see how long this takes. That's interesting. Usually I get these emails right away. I wonder if Formspree is having a problem today because look at how slowly their page, their site's loading. This is one of the drawbacks to using a third-party service. If they're having issues, this is I mean, you have to pick your poison, right? You can manage your own server yourself, or you can rely on a third party and whatever comes with that. I choose this for sure. I did not get the email though. I did not get the email. So that's not good. I don't know if that's a Formspree problem. And why does this have an exclamation point? I don't know. Submission, it says submission queued. Are they having a problem on their end with sending things? Let's see here. Down detector. Formspree. I wonder if, does Formspree have like an X account? Formspree. They haven't posted in a while. It doesn't look like. Are they replying to anybody? They haven't even replied to anybody since December. Let's see here. Keep up with updates and improvements at the changelog. Okay. December 10th. So they haven't done a changelog since December 10th. I mean, introducing the Cloudflare turnstile integration meet the latest upgrade to Formspree's spam fighting toolkit, native Cloudflare turnstile integration. Well, as soon as I see Cloudflare, I think to myself, if Cloudflare is having issues, then Formspree might be having issues. So, and with how slow their pages are loading, and the fact that I'm seeing this submission queue, that's probably why I haven't gotten the email. So, well, it's good to have all the information. So, 99% of the time, this works really, really well. And I am going to keep using them until I have a really good reason not to. And I guess there's some hiccups today. So, okay, let's move on. We are done with our contact form. We have finished our header. We're pretty much responsive. Let's go ahead and write a little bit of JavaScript. Oh, you can't see it with my giant head in the way. Let's write a little bit of JavaScript to just make this date dynamic. We also pretty much got our inner page nailed down. But maybe let's just do like a little bit of work on this header to make sure that we can have a long page title, because I styled this header to support like this one word page title, and that is not working for what's happening here. So let's do that. So let's do our dynamic date in the footer first. And let's just take a peek at what we have here. So really, we're just looking for this ID of date. So I'm going to say function copyright. And we'll say const date equals document. Get element by ID. Date, and then we'll say let's get the year, and that's new date get full year. That's our method. And we'll say if date, just to make sure it's there, date text content should equal the year. Right? That looks right to me. Beautiful. Right there. I kind of want to switch these around though. And if we switch it around, we're going to have to change it on every page, which is completely fine. So let's do this. Yeah, let's go back to our home page. Yeah, I like that better first. So I'm going to take this and we'll swap it out on every page. All right, so here's our home page. Here's our blog page. Here's our page. And here is our contact page. And I'm going to close this. I'm done with Formspree for today. I'll give you an update on Thursday on how long it took for that email to go through, if at all. And let's carry on. So, here is the page. We can close that. Here's the blog page. Here's the contact page. Here's the index page. We don't need our JavaScript anymore. We need our styles. And I guess we do need this page, the page. And we're going to have to come back in here too. When we do deployment, we'll make sure that we've got page titles, meta descriptions that describe the page. Maybe we'll do a little research together. And we'll just talk about like what does it really mean to have a good description? What is a best practice? I think that that's important stuff for a front-end developer to know. I think those are the things that are going to help you in your career as a front-end developer, to have just a little bit of knowledge around SEO and best practices. We'll make sure that we have our open graph descriptions and images specified, and then we'll use the Facebook debugger. That's a really good tool to get an idea of how your open graph data is behaving. So we'll do all of that as part of our deployment checklist. Honestly, I've been saying for like a year that I need to do a deployment checklist. I think now is finally the time to do it. And then here is our primary heading for the inner page templates. So we need to make sure that this is styled the right way. So here's the primary heading. So here's what I did. I made this display inline block, and then I just gave it a lot of padding on the left and right. And then I used, transform to center that. And I did that because I didn't want this border right here to stretch all the way to the edges. And the reason that is clearly not working is that now I have a page that is longer than the word contact, and this is wrapping. So we need a different approach with that. And I'm going to take out display inline block because headings, H1s, H2s, etc., those are block level elements by default. So I'm just going to take out display inline block and let that be a block level element. I'm also going to take out margin left and transform because I don't care anymore about centering it on the page. I'm just going to do good old text align center. Also going to take out I'm going to take out the padding on the left and the right. And so I'm going to change this to 0, but we still need the padding on the top and the bottom. And then everything else is about resizing the actual text. And now this border I already know is going to extend all the way to the edges because it's a block level element. So let's also make sure that this is text align center, just like that. Okay, I don't want this border to extend all the way to the edges. That's not what I want. So here's what we're going to do. Let's take out this border bottom and let's just put in a pseudo class, or a pseudo element rather. So we'll just say primary heading after. And then let's make sure that we have content. Even though it's an entry attribute, the property has to exist in order to add this to the DOM. And I'm going to say display, we'll say display block. I'm going to say width. I don't know how wide it needs to be. I'm going to say 300 pixels for now. Width 300 pixels, max width 100%, so it shrinks on mobile. And then I'm just going to say border bottom, 1 pixel solid bottom. And then also we need to make sure that this is margin 0 auto to center it. And it needs some padding or margin, that's fine, but that's exactly what we wanted. So let's give this some margin on top, which means we're going to end up adjusting this margin because all of this margin comes after the element, not before the element. In the box model, the border sits outside of the margin, but this element is inside of the primary primary heading element, which means that this margin now comes after this border. I hope that makes sense. It barely makes sense to me, but it does make sense to me. So we don't really need these anymore on the main element. I think we would want to do margin 3 rems on the top and probably 0 on the bottom. Let's see, we want to push it a little bit. So maybe 2 rems on the top and 2 rems on the bottom. Yeah, that's perfect. That's it exactly. So now we have all of this room here for our page template, or for a name for a page. That's great. Let's put in a nice long name and see how that looks. Maybe we want to adjust some of our text size and see what the wrapping looks like. Because you do need to account for the fact that your pages in production are going to have long titles. Your content creators, your content writers, once this is done and built and you turn it over, you have no control over the title of a page. So make sure that you're accounting for every scenario. I think this could be a little wider. Let's try 500 pixels. And I think I want this to have more space on the bottom. So let's do 2 rems on top, 3 rems on the bottom. Yeah, I like that. Okay, so now let's put in a long page title. Page template title that is really long and wraps to the second line. And if you don't think your content creators and your writers are going to do this, you haven't lived. You haven't lived. One moment. Okay. So here's what I like. I like the line height, which I always change the line height for headings to 1.25. I do think that this is a little too big though. I do. So let's just take this down a teeny tiny bit. So this is 5 rems on desktop. I think honestly just taking it down to 4 rems is perfectly fine. And then we would bump that down to 5 because we're clamping this text. Yeah, I think that works. And then I think also, well, we need to adjust our margin and padding in the media query as well. And honestly, we can just clean some of this up. We actually don't need any of this. We don't even need this media query based on the change that we made to desktop. So I'm going to change this to 4 rems. Change this to 5 VW viewport width. And I'm going to take out this media query altogether. And rather than have a media query, I think this is one of those times where we should clamp this margin. Well, let's see what's really going on here. Maybe what we need to do actually, this is getting, this H1 by default is still getting a rem of margin. And that's also, so that doesn't matter. This, yeah, let's just clamp this. Let's clamp both of those. Yes. I actually think that 1 rem kind of works on desktop for the bottom. But we definitely need 2 rems on top. Can we get away with that for mobile? Maybe that works. Let's do 1 rem for desktop. Let's just clamp that value. So we know we want it to be 1 rem on mobile. And we know on desktop it can be 2. So what does that make this? 3 VW? And I think just for good measure, even though it kind of doesn't matter, I'm just going to say margin 0 on the main element. So let's see here how this behaves when we kind of scrub back and forth here. Okay, 3, 2. I love it. That worked. I think that worked really well. Yeah, I love it. Beautiful. That was easy. And I'm completely happy with how this looks. We love a big juicy page title. This looks weird, right? This looks weird. But you know what we're going to do? Because we're going to have more pages with like words, and we're going to have one page with a form. So let's just make sure that our form has a little extra space, because the header is where we want it to be based on the greatest use case, right? Does that make sense? So we're going to do this. We're going to say when a section with a class of page has a form, well, we don't even need to do that. We can just give our form some margin. That's literally all we need to do. We don't even have to do that. Stop overthinking, Angela. So we have here a page with the form, and it's already got margin to center it. So what line is that? 499. Right here. So we'll make sure there's 0 on the bottom, and I don't know, what do we need? 2 rems? Yeah, I think that's fine. It just needed to be pushed away a little bit. And then let's clamp this the same way that we did the other thing. So we've got 1 rem for mobile. We've got 2 viewport. Did we say 2 or 3? I think we said 3 VW, and then 3, and then 2 rems for desktop. There, yeah. I think that works. Love it. Yeah, I do want to start using clamp more often. I get asked that occasionally, and it's a totally fair question. It's a good thing to get comfy with. You know what else I want to do? This right here, the Scenic kind of main logo, I think I want to just make this a little bit bigger and also make it the font a little lighter. So this is the primary logo. Right here. I want to make this a little bit bigger, maybe 3 rems. Maybe this is something we need to clamp also. And then I don't know if 300 is going to be too light. I love it. I instantly love it. You know what? Let's clamp this also. I bet we're going to have to, because I can tell it already made the header bigger. Let's see here. The other thing we need to do is we need to make sure that this is line height 1. That's going to help. That's going to help. So let's do line height 1. That's going to help. That like literally solved it. Okay, good. I think we're still going to need to clamp that though. So let's clamp, I think for mobile 2, and then maybe 4 VW for our in-between size, and then 3 rems for desktop. That seems to be a formula that works really well. So here we are, 3 rems on desktop. Let me bump this up a little. There's 4. There it pops down to 4. Honestly, the timing's pretty good there. That works beautifully. That works really well. I feel like we still have a lot of space here, though. Why is this getting so much space? Well, maybe it's okay. Is that okay? Is this too juicy? Oh, and look at our submit button. We have to fix our submit button there. Look at that. Let's fix our submit button too. So what's going on here? With the 100%. Oh, min width 200. Okay. Max with 100%. Yeah, so I think we just need to change the min width in the media query. Maybe like to auto. Yeah, let's just add min width auto inside of our media query. So that's line 474. That looks great. I love it. Okay, let's do one more commit up to GitHub, and then we'll take a look on I'll hook up my phone. Refining styles for page titles. Git push origin main. Okay. And then while that is deploying, let me grab my phone. Oh, and the form submission did go through. The form submission did go through, so I'll show that to you here as well. Well, this is not the thing that we want to deploy. No one is here. Hello, how are you all doing? Let's see, you're not now. I'm doing well. How are you doing? And Shakale says, no, the button is not good. Hopefully I fixed the button. I think I'm seeing that message late. Tell me if the button is still not working for you. I think we fixed that button, right? Let me know. Let me know if there's another button that I'm missing. So, and we need to work on we'll work on our animations this week too. We tossed in some animations last time, but we'll work on those. So here we can open our mobile and we can close our mobile. Good, good. Let's go to our contact form. The button looks good. The form looks good. We have the right stacking order. We can see our date. A lot of some of the details, some of the contrast, like different background, like the light gray contrast for a background or a text shadow doesn't come through well on OBS, but they are there. So hopefully you can see that. We should be able to click our logo and go back to our home page. Oh, I will have to fix that. But we can at least navigate to each of our inner pages. There we go. That looks great. I think that looks really nice. It looks just fine. We should also, it might be nice to set up like a MailChimp for the subscription form. I have a MailChimp account. Again, it's a free version, but that might be a good idea. Let's put that on the list. Here's our contact form. So I'm going to go ahead and fill out the contact form. So I'm going to say Angela test Holden test, and I'm going to put in info at AngelaJHolden.com. All right. And then this is a form submission on 2/3/26 at, what time is it? It's 12:33 my time, 12:33 p.m. Please click reply and confirm you received this message. Thanks. All right, and then I'll go ahead and submit. Opens a new tab. I think Formspree is having some problems today. It's not my internet, is it? No. My internet's working. Okay, form was submitted successfully. Let's go back over to Formspree. Okay, they're clearly having problems. We'll wait and see. We'll wait and see if that goes through. But I'll at least show you the email here. So here's the email. Did finally go through. So our test was at 11:56 and the timestamp on the email is 12:04. So it took 8 minutes for Formspree to send that email. I mean, that's fine, but at least we're getting, this is what we want. We want it so that when people fill out the form, it's being emailed directly to the form owner. And so the whole point here now is that we have this email that was filled out on the form, info+test@angelajholden.com. We need to be able to click reply and just immediately respond to that. So I'm not going to respond, but we can see here that everything gets filled in. So that's the point. We want to make sure that we're always able to close the loop on the form submission, and that just depends entirely on how your organization is set up, right? That's what that depends on. Okay. And then this is still filled in because I'm too cheap to pay for the paid version of Formspree. But our button, I'm trying to click on the button and it's disabled. So that's fine. All we have to do is we have to fix the logo to point back to the home page, but all you have to do is refresh the page. So in my opinion, that is an acceptable way to handle that. So, well, so far so good. Like, I'm really happy with this. Let's put a couple things on our QA list, shall we? And we did, the other submission did go through, so let's take a look. Oh, this is taking a long time. You're killing me, Formspree. What's going on today? Okay, while that's loading, let's look at our QA list. Okay. So technically this is done, the open graph meta tags, but they need more attention in order to go live. So that's this right here. We need page descriptions. We talked about doing a parallax, and let's talk more about a parallax and some animations on Thursday this week, because I feel like we're ready to sort of implement some of that. Planning the CSS font sizes and spacing. I don't know. I think this is done just through the fact that I didn't do any special planning, but I do feel like we took some things into account when it came to how we use the contact page to build out our inner pages. And then we talked about maybe doing a bento grid. Let's move a couple of these things down. So let's say we'll call these maybe. And then I feel like these three things could be what? Deployment. And then this is yeah, we're gonna get into this, I think, this weekend, this upcoming weekend. What I'd like to do on Thursday is, well, we also want to do, I think we should also do a MailChimp subscription, like actually hook up the MailChimp subscription, which means I need to log into my MailChimp account and kind of plan that. So we'll do, let's sort out the kind of animations that we want on page load. Let's hook up our MailChimp subscription form. Let's talk about where we could implement something parallax related, which I kind of feel like that could be on the page, right? We could maybe add it just on the the page. We need to update the header logo link to point to homepage. So we'll do that. That's this right here. And then Formspree has gone through, so we've got checkboxes, which must mean that the email got sent. So let me confirm. And yes, it did. That email went through. It went through right away. So yeah, okay, so this is all working. That's good. That's good. And let me put in here, I really think that I need to take the time to write a Deployment checklist. Honestly, we need that. We need a deployment checklist. That could go with our DevOps documentation. I mean, that would be the perfect complement to our DevOps documentation. So, and Malik says, good work as usual. Thank you. I appreciate that. And good luck on the tile, which sounds horrible. It's not my thing. It's not my thing. Let's see here. One moment. Thank you to everybody who came to hang out. Do me a favor, if you haven't yet, go ahead and like the video. Subscribe if you're not subscribed yet. I'm here Saturday, Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday at 10:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. We hang out and we practice vanilla HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Not anti-framework, not anti-library. I just enjoy the process of building with vanilla. And that's the approach that I decided that I was going to take on my channel. And I do think that new developers especially aren't really learning vanilla. They're kind of getting tossed into like React Tailwind land. Nothing wrong with that. Vital, important skills to have. But I personally would like to see more front-end developers especially still have a deeper understanding of vanilla, especially vanilla CSS. I think it'll help. I just think it'll make you a more competent, confident developer. So just my two cents. Everybody, have a great rest of your week. Well, I'll be back on, have a great couple of days. I'll be back on Thursday morning. Again, 10:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. We'll hang out. We'll keep working. We'll get some more stuff done. And we'll have fun doing it. Everybody, enjoy your day.